Detroit is Different is where you get information, artistry, history, music, and even comedy. Detroit is Different, a home for the culture of Detroit. Visit online at DetroitisDifferent.com today.
All right, back in full effect in the Detroit is Different podcast studio B. This is the audio studio. This is where we do the audio stuff. And I have somebody here that is more than known and set up for what that will be in audio. Tamara Jewel is in full effect. Tamara Jewel, how you feeling?
I feel great. Great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Okay, that is more than welcome to have you in full effect. You're somebody that saw what we're doing here with Detroit is Different and reached out. You're kind of interconnected through a circle of people that are Detroit is Different, cohorts, family, and you're pounding the pavement right now, hitting a lot of these different podcasts, getting word out about something big that you're working on, and an album. So what is the project you're working on?
So I actually have an EP that I just dropped. It dropped on the 1st of January. It is titled, it's the acronym BOATS, and it stands for boats. Well, not stands for boats.
But the boats is
the acronym.
Boats
is the acronym.
Like, okay, what does the acronym stand for?
Based on a true story.
Okay. All right. So for people that don't know, EP, and you should know that my world kind of starts in music. EP is like a shorter version of an album.
Yes.
Back in the day, an LP would be a vinyl with a full vinyl. So like the EP was something that would come out in short stints and everything. Yeah. So for all of you all that are old school like me that love it, so when you're watching the 5 Heartbeats and then they had like the white people on the cover, that's the EP. It was just like a couple songs, you know,
right.
Nothing but love for you. And it's like, hey, Eddie Kane ain't on there. And then they threw it and it's like, hey, what's going on? But that stuff happened back in the day. And as we talk about back in the day, classic Detroit is Different style, your Detroit story. How does it start? And more so like your family. How does your family end up in the city of Detroit? Are you a first generation, second generation?
So I am considered a first generation.
So
I guess
you're
you
the
would
person,
say.
you're the family that came here.
Yes.
From where?
I don't know why I just got something in my throat. Oh.
Okay. It's like the spirits of Detroit was coming at you like, what is going on?
Right. Okay, so I am from Dayton, Ohio.
For real, the other D?
The little D.
Hey, let me say something about Dayton before you get into it. Dayton in the 70s offers some of the best funk music that there is, hands down. So like Slave and Steve Arrington, Roger and all of them dudes.
Zapp, yep.
Like, it was a lot of, like, I don't know what was going on in Dayton for a minute. And then the Ohio Players.
Yes.
So it was like a connection between especially like a lot of that Don Davis recording, the United Sound Studios, in Detroit, that 75 background. And then people knew that they go down to Dayton and get players even from Motown. So from Dayton to Detroit.
Dayton to Detroit.
What made the jump?
So I actually came here for college. I went to Oakland University.
Okay.
I stayed there. I graduated. And after I graduated, I actually moved back home.
Okay.
So I was there for maybe like 7 or 8 months. And I was like, nah, this is not going to work. When you come here and then go back, you realize that it's a little country.
A little country.
People was calling me country all the time when I was up here. And I was
gonna say, I used to, for my old life, I was a truck driver.
Okay.
And I had a route that went straight to Dayton because it's like my trucking company sent all the black drivers to like black cities.
Oh,
and I didn't know how black Dayton was until I got the route there. So like, excuse my French and everything. And I knew Dayton was different. Like it would be people like walking alligators and with snakes around their neck, and it was interesting, like of a town. That's
normal for me to see that, but people would always say like, y'all are so country. And since I've been here, I've lost a little bit of my accent. So I would say stuff and they'd be like, where are you from? And I'd be like, I'm from Dayton, I'm from Ohio. But I used to talk real country when I first moved here, but I've lost it a little bit since I've been here. But yeah, I was doing a little bit of the acting and singing while I was like the last few years of college. And then when I moved back home, it's like no lane for that there. And if it is, I wasn't familiar, and if it probably was very small. So it was just like, man, I don't really see me getting to where I want to be in my career if I stay here.
Okay, now, like I say, the music was there because I know, like in the 70s or 80s, it was, especially like, you know, it was a point in time where it seemed like Dayton, damn near like all the R&B charts like kind of went through Dayton. So the studios had to be there, and then who else was from Dayton?
Yeah.
My man Rob Templeton, Heatwave was there too.
Okay.
I think. What, you know, were those studios still there? Were the engineers still there? Or you don't?
The one from Roger Troutman and Zapp, the brothers, I believe, was. I don't know if it's still there now.
Yeah.
But for me, that was around. Man, I don't want to tell my age, but it's been about 20 years. You know what I'm saying? Since I graduated from college to, you know, to the point where, well, not 20 since I graduated from college, but since I went back home and was like, no, so it wasn't the same as back in the Slave and Roger Troutman
when
and
all of that
Short
was
Caesar.
happening.
You know
so
what I'm saying?
The studios weren't as active. And
Right.
like Detroit, it also was a very industrial city
Yeah.
that, you know, took a bit hit as, you know, industries changed and that whole, you know, like a lot of those Ohio towns, like Youngstown, Dayton, my family from Cincinnati, which is actually more country than Dayton, surprisingly.
It is.
You
It
know,
is.
so,
About 45 minutes more south, and it
yeah,
gets
exactly. Yeah, no,
real country.
exactly. It's like northern Kentucky. But with this, you go there, you're at a place where you feel like it's not a lot of outlets for your creativity.
Right.
Your family, you know, so that, I guess that kind of brings me to those questions. Like, were they singing? Were they acting? How did they express themselves creatively? Or was this kind of like a just you thing?
So I found out in later years as I got older that actually my grandmother, my father's mother, and her sisters had a singing group.
Okay.
And they sang.
What was their name?
I don't know the name of the group. That's horrible. I don't know the name of the group. But they did. They had a little singing group. And then my aunt actually sang too. So as I was coming up, that's my father's sister. So I knew that she sang. Her and her husband, he produces, and then she sang. So I would listen to like the recordings and stuff like that. And I sang in the choir at church. So as I, you know, grew up, I just was able to listen to her, and I was like, I want to do that. And I started writing little gospel songs because I was always in church. So it started out as gospel songs. I would just open the Bible and just pick some verses and just create some melodies.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about like that church and singing, and this is a storied pass between soul music, R&B music, and gospel. So in church, was it one of those things where you were connected through the music, or was it just one of those things where it's like, okay, I like coming because, you know, I'm going to be able to sing in the choir? Like, how did the gospel music move you when you were younger?
Well, of course, when you're young, you kind of don't have a choice to go. My mother made us go. We was there for Sunday school, Bible study,
So you was like,
vacation Bible school.
You was like
there was like nothing. I didn't go trick or treating.
Convocation.
It was like Angels Night at church. You know what I'm saying? So
Okay.
I didn't have a choice. I was kind of forced to, you know, be in church, and then it was like, oh, I was like 7 or 8, and they have a kids choir. You're gonna sing in the choir, and it was like, okay. And then it actually, I don't think I really knew that young that I really liked it. I just did it because my mom made me do it. But then when they started giving me little solos and my little shy self, because I was so shy, like I kind of didn't want to do a solo or anything like that because I was scared. So I would just kind of just sing my little part and do my little rock, and then head to the back.
You'd be like, this little light,
right?
And then you'd be like, I'm gonna.
Yeah. So, but then as I got older, probably in my teenage years, is when I would start writing. And I would never let anybody even hear it. I just wrote it, kept it to myself, and. Nope, I don't even know if honestly, I don't know if my parents even know that I was writing songs and stuff back then, because I didn't sing it for anybody or anything like that. I just kind of kept them in my little book and kept them to myself.
Okay. And also, like, church just through rhythm teaches you strong song structure, and also especially like through the black hymnal. You're gonna learn like different things where it's like, okay, how does 3 words take up a whole measure? And, it's like, oh, this is how, you know what I mean? So did you take to actually song structure and knowing how to place things and the rhythms? Like, did you actually learn the musicality from being in a choir in church?
From being in a choir in church, and also I played the flute when I was young. Okay. So, when you play an instrument, you have to learn how music works. You have to learn the bars. You have to learn to count. So in playing the flute, I actually kind of tied those things together, and this is 4 bars. This is 8 bars. And that's how I kind of tied it together and started learning how music actually works.
Okay. So, like, as you started tying all of this together and learning more about how the music works, I kind of jumped the gun even on, like, your parents' story. Like, their story and what they were. Like, what did your mom and dad do? Were they just, like, non-creative people? Were they just, like, blue-collar folks? What were they?
My mom, blue-collar, same job since I was a kid, same company. My father was a teacher. He's retired from teaching now. He was a teacher as well as an entrepreneur. So, kind of like sold things on the side and stuff like that, clothes and different stuff like that.
Okay, so let's get into like a teacher as your dad. What school did he teach? Did he teach?
He it's so funny. He taught PE.
For real?
Yes. And
okay,
he was
like
also
he
coached.
Hard-nosed? Yeah, I was going to say he probably
too.
Coached too.
Yeah.
So was he like hard-nosed, coached what sport?
Basketball.
Okay.
He might have coached something else too, but basketball is what I remember. He was that teacher that was like for no games.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah. Sometimes
no
coaches
games.
Can
like,
be like,
if I run into people now or like later years, they would call him Hater Hayes. Sorry, Daddy. But they would call him Hater Hayes because he was like for no games. Like, you're not about to play with him. And, back then school was a little different. You could get in a student's face or, you know what I'm saying, and kind of more disciplined, not necessarily put your hands on, but you could discipline a child into, they'll respect you if you be stern with them.
But also the black male presence
right
in a lot of these schools was really needed, especially that coach. So like sometimes for people that know, like back when, especially in middle school, I don't know what age.
He taught all grades.
So
he's taught all grades.
In middle school, it would always be the coach. When we were doing stupid stuff like throwing paper at each other,
right,
it would be like, we about to call a coach. And it's like, here we go.
Right.
Here we go.
Yep. He's the one to get you together real quick.
Like lunchroom assignment, like you think you're going to, I don't know, we do like stupid stuff like open the chocolate milk, slide it down, and then you'd be like, hey.
Yep.
And it's like, here we go.
Yep. That was Hater Hayes. He was coming, get you together.
Okay. So with him being involved in like the athletics and the sports, did that put you into athletics and sports? And I'm sure that definitely scared off like a lot of boys from even wanting to come near approaching you.
Well, thankfully, he didn't work at the school that I went to, so it didn't really. I mean, he might have he would pop up all the time. I would just turn around and he would just be there just because of his relationship. Dayton is small and he, know everybody, so he could just show up whenever. So it did kind of
Yeah.
steer, people away a little bit.
Like your daddy. But they probably,
Right.
a man that
It might have been a
steers away-
thrill, though.
Yeah, I was going to say this straight up. A man that steers away is probably, he had wrong intentions for you
Anyway,
in the first place.
I know, right?
You
I
know
didn't know
what I'm
that
saying?
as a little kid, though.
Yeah,
I
as
was
a kid,
like,
you just like, my dad's a
Daddy."
hater.
Right. Yeah.
So, and your mom, you say more blue collar.
Mm-hmm.
So, so within that, in that household, how do you think that kind of impacted your perspective as you came up here, being that you came from what I say like a smaller town, but also with beginnings like parents that are like more foundational, a teacher, blue collar, you know what I'm saying? That's like, how did that engage as you touch a college campus where it's collect everybody in the world?
Yeah. It's different. Because I don't know if they really so much as understand what an artist kind of has to do, because it's not a typical like 9 to 5. Sometimes I'll get you're just out late and then I have a daughter too, so it's like you're eating so late, and it's like, well, I gotta do what I gotta do. You know what I'm saying?
And then a church mama too. So it's
Yeah.
like nothing but the devil.
Yeah.
The
So
devil.
everything you're doing, and then
It's 8:00. You know who out at the 8:00?
Oh, some songs, it's like, well, why you gotta say that? Why you gotta sing this? And it's just like, so it's different. It's very different.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit more into that creativity and more so your connection here, because Oakland, Detroit, going to Oakland it kind of connects you to Detroit. For people that are listening that are unfamiliar, Oakland University is basically, as far as I'm concerned, it's in Pontiac.
It's technically Rochester.
Yeah, Rochester, but it's Pontiac.
It's across the street from Pontiac.
And Pontiac is about maybe 20, 30 minutes away from Detroit, depending upon how fast you drive, or maybe 15 minutes.
Right.
And it's like another one of those smaller towns, but with a campus feel.
Yeah.
And at one point in time, that's where the Silver Dome, for people that are familiar, that's where the Silver Dome is. Really kind of where the Palace of Auburn Hills was, where the Pistons played.
Yep.
But in the midst of that, you also had and still have almost like a country-ish black community, it's some for sure Pontiac people that are like real Pontiac people, almost like that scene from School Days or something that's happening for the college kids. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
So touching down there and going to the school and then choosing to come back to this Detroit area, what was the catalyst to come back here instead of like Atlanta or LA or New York? What made you choose Detroit?
I chose Detroit because at the time it was what was comfortable for me.
Okay. Do you think that this is some of the shyness or some of the insecurity?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I can say that. I mean, because technically I could have went to Atlanta. I don't have any family here. I don't have not one, family member that lives here. So I could have gone to Atlanta, LA, you know what I'm saying? But I think me being a little more timid was like, well, Detroit is only 3 hours from home, so
worst case scenario, Hater Hayes is gonna be busting up 75.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
It's a little closer. They don't take nothing to get and hop on 75 and you straight drive.
Yep.
So
Okay.
I think that's what it was.
All right, so with that decision, in making the decision of saying like, okay, I want to come back to Detroit to pursue a career in singing, or was it more so I just want to come back to Detroit to be closer to some opportunities to sing?
No, it was to pursue
Okay.
the singing and acting.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what were some of the projects you were working on when you came back? Because I know it had to have been like maybe friends or producers, rappers, other singers that are like, you got to do this and you got to do that.
Yeah.
What were some of the first things you were working on when you came back?
Well, let me actually correct myself. It was to pursue singing. I hadn't even started acting yet until I moved back.
Okay.
But before I left, as I spoke before we started, I was working with MJ the Don. I was doing a lot of hooks and stuff for him. I was working with a good friend of mine, Brandon Fletcher. He has the label Live, the music group. And we were doing a lot of writing, and I was working a lot behind the scenes with him and some of his groups. So I kind of had people already. I had relationships with producers, other producers. So it was like, if I go somewhere else, I'm going to have to start all the way over. And I don't like talking to people. I'm shy. I'm still like that to this day. Like, I have a, I'm a little shy. So it's hard for me to start a conversation with people. So it was comfortable.
Okay. So in that, early on, do you remember some of those first songs and just getting in the studio? What was that experience like, just touching down? Because paper and singing in person is different than like getting in the booth.
Yeah. Wait, repeat the question for me.
What was it like getting in the studio for like the first time?
Oh, getting in the studio for the first time. So one of my first experiences of actually like somewhat of a studio was actually, I recorded my first song on Oakland's campus.
Okay.
And it was actually a gospel song.
Okay.
And I don't even remember what I did it for or why, but and the guy who recorded me, God rest his soul, he's actually no longer with us, but his name was DJ Wine. And he had a setup in the dorm room, and I went in there and I had recorded this song, and since then it was just like, oh, I don't want to do nothing else.
Wow.
I just want to do this.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So then in this era, I mean, studios are different. Like this is, I'm guessing, tracking, we're close in age, around the time when people still have hardware equipment and software equipment. Like computer recording is coming into play at this. And then, so sometimes even finding a place to record would be a task.
Right. Right.
Let alone the money to record, just because, at that age, money is scarce, period.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So,
like money to record. No.
yeah, exactly. So did you find yourself like bartering, like, like just doing a lot of hooks? Like when did you get a chance to work on a lot of your music?
To be honest, more recently in later years. Because when I first started, it was just writing for people or doing hooks for people.
Okay.
I may have had some things that I wrote, but when it came to actually recording them or putting them out, I kind of hadn't. That's why after all of this time, this is actually my first EP.
Wow, congratulations.
Yeah, this is actually my first EP. I had even held on to some things for a long time, and it was hard, especially in college or fresh out of college. Who has money to record? And then when it came to me having my daughter, who has time? Or, so those things play a factor.
Okay, so you're here. You mentioned family starts, become a mother, but you still stay active in this pursuit. But before that, so at motherhood, what were you doing? Did you just say, okay, like, all right, I'm gonna come back to, like, was it always that, like, let me raise up the seed and still get back to singing? Like, how did you balance that? What was your approach?
Well, I never stopped. I never stopped. Prior to having her, like I said, I was working with a lot of people. I used to be up in the studio every day once I had connections with people that were like engineers and stuff. So I just used to come up there. We just gonna be here. You got a beat. We just gonna write something, try to get some placements, stuff like that. Once I had her, her father is very, 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 very supportive of my career. Okay. So at any moment, if I said I gotta go to the studio, I'm gonna be there late, he would take her. You know what I'm saying? So it kind of, even though I don't have any family here, that part I never suffered because of that, because I could depend on him or his family or his best friend, which is her godmom, Riri. They really, really held it down, especially when she was younger, because she's 12 now, so she's a little older.
Okay.
But they held it down. If I had to go film a movie and I was going to be gone for a week, I knew that she would be okay because I had that support.
So that same approach to like being in the studio and just being present provides the opportunity is a place where opportunities are always brought about. I was watching this documentary on Rick James the other day that Showtime has, and they were just talking about like how he would walk around Toronto. This is after he went AWOL from the military or whatever.
Okay.
And he kind of ended up in some bands just from being present. This is a man. You're a woman. And this industry, as we know, like men, men can do creepy things. You know what I'm saying? And men don't try women all the time.
Yeah.
How did you keep your eyes up? How did you keep your mind on the swivel to make sure that like you were safe in these spaces, engaging in music? Because, in reality, and then and I'm saying creepy too, a guy may feel a connection. It's like, wow, we working on this stuff. And then it's like, hey, I kind of like you. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, man.
I just always try to keep it as professional as possible. I don't try to give anybody the wrong impression that it's going to be anything other than that. Because when it comes to me doing that, it's like tunnel vision. I don't even see you really as anything more than that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
So in that, for the young woman that is a singer, like your daughter, if she came to you and said, look, I want to sing, or a niece or someone real close to you, what would you say to that young girl that's 16, 17, looking to get in this industry? What advice would you give them about keeping that clear?
Right. I would tell them to, number one, don't get involved with anybody, in that manner, just because nothing is guaranteed. So you doing that is probably the last thing that's going to get you further. And if it does, it's only going to be temporary till they done with you and something else come around. Let your talent speak for itself. You don't have to do anything else. What God has for you is for you. So not anybody else in a room or nothing is going to stop that. Unless you see like a relationship or something, unless y'all working in a vibe like that. But other than that, don't even do it.
Okay. So in that, just letting the talent speak for itself, what were you doing to do that? What were you doing to let the talent speak for itself? In what ways? I know you said you were in the studio writing. You were willing to like kind of be in whatever position, provided an opportunity.
Yep.
How do you stand out in that room when you're with other people working, where it's like, no, I want to be in this mix?
How did I stand out? Well, I think I'm a really good songwriter.
Okay.
So I would say my lyrics stood out for me. Like if you put a beat on, I kind of just would go, So I think in my work ethic, especially in the studio, I get straight to it. I don't need the auto-tune that a lot of people need. You put me in the booth, I'm not going to waste your money. If you are, there, if you need me to do a hook, I'm going to come and do the hook, and I'm going to show up, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to leave. You know what I'm saying? I get it done. So I think that stands out. I know that does, because I've heard that from people. They'll say, man, you did that in like 15 minutes. They got a whole couple hours booked, and they'd be like, I don't know, maybe you could use the rest of your time to get it mixed or something. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't want to waste your time, and I for certainly don't want my time wasted. So
that type of discipline, are you preparing yourself beforehand? Like what is it that, lets you go in there with that type of attitude?
I definitely prepare beforehand, listening to it. Most of the time, especially if I wrote it, I'm going to try to know it before I go. If they have written something that they just want me to sing, I have them like send me the lyrics so I can kind of, practice it and do my ad libs, kind of have in my head what I want to do prior to. But even if that's not the case, say they didn't send it to me ahead of time and I don't know exactly what I'm gonna do until I get there, I still just knock it out. I don't know.
Okay. And I'm asking this because the creative process is different for so many people. And I think especially when it comes to music, because music, the flow, just from my time recording hip hop and being in so many studio sessions, so many artists have different approaches to it. Some people like to have the party atmosphere where it's a bunch of people around, a lot of energy. Some people like solitude where it's not really many people around, just them and the engineer. Some people like, all right, I want my cousin and my girlfriend here, or my cousin and my boyfriend, like some very close people to them. Some people may want some drinks, some people may want some smoke. Everybody's approach is so different.
Yep.
So when you do meet a person, it is unique, that has almost like a business like acumen to like knocking out the session instead of tapping into what some people deem as like, I gotta get in my creative zone to do this. How are you balancing that creativity but still being so business minded about it, because it is like a mix between both worlds.
It is. I've been in all of those situations, all of those sessions where either it's a whole bunch of people or it's me, the engineer, and maybe one other person, or people, like you said, have the alcohol, they smoking weed, you know what I'm saying? I've been in all of those situations. Me personally, it's me and the engineer for me, unless I just have somebody else to go with me. But other than that, it's typically just me and the engineer. Now in writing sessions, yeah, it might be, more people than that. But if it's just me recording, back when I was recording in the studio, it would just be me and the engineer. Now I record at home.
Okay. And and when you say writing sessions, because I'm so used to writing sessions being like what, and I kind of, you hear maybe some spiel if you hear the great Josh Adams, my homie, comedians do that often. Songwriters, I know the great Holland Dozier Holland, but how does a writing session between songwriters go? Like, what does that look like? Oh yeah, also Ashford and Simpson, I can't believe it. How does that work on like a song? Like, what's the process there?
So the process is, it can be different ways to do it. There can be a group of people in a room, you playing the music, and somebody say a line, somebody else say a line to go with it, somebody else add the line. Somebody could be in the corner working on the chorus. Somebody could be in the corner working on the B section or the bridge, you know what I'm saying? So, or it could be you do the chorus, you do the verse, you do the second verse, or you point out somebody to do different parts. So I've been in all of those different type of writing sessions.
And that brings me to the business side of stuff too. How far along did you get in this creativity before it was like, okay, let me get my ass cap. Let me focus on my writing credit. Let me focus on my copyright. Because we could all be in this writing session and then you walk out and it's like, hey, this is his song. Okay. I'm like, I swear I did,
Actually, I did that pretty early because I did my research, kind of like, well, how do people get paid for this? You know what I'm saying? So I luckily started that process very early. And then if it is like a session with multiple people, we always do split sheets to cover ourselves and things like that. Okay.
So also in that same world of artists, is some artists that'll be like, split sheets, what you talking about? I'm just want to pay you up front. Like, are you, hitting people off with like a learning curve sometimes, because some people aren't on their business as much when it comes to anything creative? Like, how do you bring them into, all right, this is how I conduct business?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll
just them halfway. Ask. I'll be like, or I'll just send it like, hey, this is my ass cap. I've had people that I've worked with like, well, what's this? Like, what do I do with this? And I've had to tell them like, hey, this is how you give me my credit, or how this is how I get my royalties, because you're not just gonna pay me up front. I mean, you can pay me up front, but I also want that back end too. You know what I'm saying? Because what if your song blow up and then I'm just over here like,
I got $1,000 and
man,
I just sung what's so funny. Busy Bone or Lazy Bone told the story of Thuggish Ruggish Bone. And the lady that sung that was just happened to be walking down the street, and he was like, "Oh, she can kind of sing," but you clearly no publisher or no nothing.
Right.
So like one of their biggest songs just happened to be like,
goodness.
just, hey, you want to get on this track? And it's like, yeah, Easy in the studio. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, it's the Thuggish Ruggish Bone. And now it's like,
I had to come back. I had to double back for that. Like,
I'm sure after the fact that she found some form of like even the It's So Cold in the Deep. What's her name? T Baby.
Yeah.
Like, the representation will find you when they need to. Like, almost like the if you get hit by a truck, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, they representation will find you, but even that you would rather be proactive than reactive.
Yeah,
to definitely. Something like that.
Definitely,
because that happens often. In this industry, how have you armed yourself, like, and strengthened more in your business acumen? Like, what are some of those other clues that you've or cues you've taken beyond, like you said, you read early? But like, are you working with attorneys? Are you working with agents, managers? Like, what's your team? How did you develop it? How have you strengthened your business over time?
I am my team.
Okay. Okay.
Because as an independent artist, a team costs money. And as an independent artist, I might not necessarily have that. Money for that. So I try to I do take care of all of that myself.
Okay. So where are you going to get your knowledge to stay on your, like, how much it's already a lot preserving your voice, making sure you take care of it, and being creative, but also thinking on the business that you're wearing multiple hats. Like, how are you strengthening your business acumen as you continue on this journey?
There are several I follow certain people that are either in the industry or people that have shows, or like on YouTube or something like that. I can subscribe to certain people that I can watch and gain certain knowledge. They might compare different, like when I started the whole streaming thing, started putting out singles, I'm like, well, I don't know which company to go with. So I got on Google, started looking up companies, this company versus this one, which one is better, what's the difference in this, what's the difference in that. And then I asked people that have been doing it for, maybe as long or longer than me, what are some things you can tell me? What companies do you use? How do you do this? I'm not afraid to ask if I don't know something, like, what's this or what's that? How do I do that? I'm not afraid to do that at all.
That's key. Hey, for everybody listening, the willingness to be ignorant and then inform yourself is a heck of an asset in whatever you do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like, don't just
That's
always go
learn.
in and assume. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So with that, how is streaming? Because streaming has changed the whole game of how people look at music. How do you see streaming right now and just the way music connects with people?
I like it. I know some people are like, I'd rather have, like my mom, can you just give me a CD? No, I cannot give you a CD because whenever you listen to that song, I'm not going to get paid for it. So, you know what I'm saying? I like it because I am able to connect with people all over the world that I would not be able to physically hand a CD. I mean, what can that's important to be able to connect with people that you can't see, somebody that you don't know. Like, I'll look at my streams and it'll be like people in China. You'd be like, how did you find me? But thank you, So obviously I'm able to reach more people, I feel like, that way.
Have you like hopped on top of this whole concept within that streaming world, like the different playlists or creating your own Spotify playlist and connecting? Because that's how, I think I've discovered more music because I'm a Spotify person more so than Tidal. So like it'll, keep playing and then it'll be like, oh, okay, I like this. I hate that.
Yeah.
And they've even taken away the whole Spotify used to have a never play this artist thing. But they took that away because it's a couple where it's like, never.
I didn't know they had. I know you could like dislike a track or like.
Yeah. But how have you reached out to different people about getting on their playlist and things like that? Like, how are you navigating it beyond hitting the podcasts and the places like this? Getting that music in the mix for people?
Well, see, this is the tricky part in this. So Spotify itself says, because people be like pay to get on this playlist and stuff like that, but Spotify, the company says that you cannot pay people for a specific playlist. So I've never done that because of what I read on Spotify's actual site saying that you cannot pay to get on a playlist. Yeah. What I have done is submitted to Spotify. So you have a certain amount of days before your release. I think it's like 20 to submit to be on one of their playlists. So I guess their people will listen and maybe place you on a playlist.
Now, so for people listening that like maybe definitely the older group, Spotify is a music player company. It also plays a lot of podcasts. I listen to most of my podcasts through Spotify too. So through Spotify, you can listen to different music. But along with Spotify's music, Spotify will do a couple things. They have different playlists that are curated. That's the term that people love to use nowadays. By different tastemakers, another term people love to use. So it may be like a mix that's curated as like hip hop yoga. And you're like, what the hell is hip hop yoga? If you like hip hop and you like doing yoga, it's a playlist that will be there for that. Also, based on your taste and your sensibility, Spotify will curate a playlist based on other things you've played. So like for me, the past month, I was listening to this other podcast and they led with some stylistics, the Hurry Up This Way Again. So it's had me get back into my stylistics bag. So now Spotify has hit me off with a lot of Blue Magic and Delphonics, like things in their art, falsetto 70s bass groups. Okay. And it'll kind of do that for the people listening. But also for independent artists, it's, it gets, some D-Nice just put up a post saying that 70% of music played in 2021 was music released 3 years ago or further back.
Oh, wow.
So this kind of, and I don't know how, the validity of like who's doing these studies and stuff like that. And that's the other thing where I'm the artist that I have some problems with this streaming stuff because I don't know who's listening. We do have more access, but I just don't know how to do a full audit of it. Yeah. If I shipped 100 CDs to this record store, I know they have 100 CDs. So if I go back and I say, hey, let me see your inventory.
And
they
how
have
many
60,
have been purchased. And
then that means 40 had to have sold. Give me more money. Yep. You know what I'm saying?
That's true. That's very true.
So it's some good and bad with all of this, but the playlist of it is a place where, new artists can be discovered, especially if you're more willing to go into these different playlists. And it's specific playlists for that. And have you successfully landed on some different playlists or connected with other artists through this? How have you connected?
I haven't landed on any of theirs yet. But crossing my fingers. One day soon.
I'm going to push Josh because Josh is the most R&B listening to person I know.
Is he?
To make a specific Josh Adams playlist for the podcast because that's another lane that we as content creators can get into. We can make different playlists. And many podcasts actually have playlists. Okay. I probably need to do a Detroit is different playlist.
Yeah.
You maybe, actually, I will do it and I will lead with some Tam music off the bat. So within that, let's get into some more of this music. Boats is the project. What led to it? What are the songs? You say it's an EP, so it's probably only like about, what is it, 5, 6 songs?
It's 6 songs.
Okay.
It's only 20 minutes long.
Okay.
20 minutes, that's it.
Okay.
These songs came from things that some of them were stuff that I was just sitting on. So I just came to the point one day and I was like, what am I like waiting for? I have no excuse not to have some music out because, for one, I can record at home whenever I want to. So there's no excuse. I have relationships with producers. I have tons of beats. So what am I waiting for? So I literally was like, I'm about to set a date and I'm about to put this out. And that was it.
Okay. So I have so for people to know how this connects. Hey, people watching, I think the screen is done. I just added that to my Spotify list. So Tamara Jewel, and then obviously it's a boat and it's many pictures. The art is real cool too.
Thank you.
So when did you, what's the oldest song? What's the newest song on here?
The oldest song is number 5.
Okay.
If It Ain't Love. That's actually my favorite song on there too, which is why I kind of threw that on there. And then the newest song would be, the newest song that I recorded was Mr. Rebound. That's number 6. But I actually wrote it some years ago to a different beat, and it was faster. And then as I was doing this project, you know how like on iTunes, well, I don't know if you know, but things that's stored on there just kind of play. And one day I was just listening to stuff on my iTunes and the old one popped up and I was like, I could revisit this.
Wow.
Because it was actually an industry beat that I had just wrote to and recorded it back in the day on my little home. Before I had Pro Tools, I had something else that was cheaper that I could just put my ideas on.
Okay.
And that's what I recorded it on. I was like, I could revisit this. Now it was faster, a lot higher in the note, and I wanted to make it more, I don't want to say sexy, but I wanted to make it slower and more. I listened to a lot of her and Snow Allegra and like Brandy and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's
so.
I didn't know who Snow Allegra was until he was like, all I'm listening to is Snow Allegra.
Man, you need to add her to one of your playlists. So I wanted to, because that's what I listen to, I wanted to make something that sound like that.
Okay.
So that's what I did.
This is that. So as we're in that mix, how has the response been from this project so far?
I have been getting really, really, really good response from it so far. And to be honest, when I put it out, it wasn't for anybody else. It was like songs. When I wrote them, that's how I felt when I wrote it. So they're very personal to me. So I kind of put it out for me. I don't want to say I didn't care if people liked it, but I didn't really care. It was for me to put my thoughts out and to finally say, I did this. I've been sitting on things and I've been waiting for the right time for so long. And this is it. This is it. And people have been giving me really, really good feedback. And a lot of that, I think, has to do with the fact that they were personal. And I know there's somebody out there that can relate to probably at least one of those songs on that EP.
What do you think, what do you think made you so timid, feeling like it wasn't the right time before this?
Just trying to be a perfectionist, I think, and just not being sure. Like, I know that I am a good writer. I know I make good music, but it just never seemed like the right time. Or I would be like, well, I don't have this or I don't have that. And I just got to the point where I was like, I don't care. This the date, January 1st, 2022, I'm putting it out. And that's what it is.
I'm with it. All right. So within that, the natural next thing, and we're getting to a close, but actress as well. How did you get into movies?
Man, so it actually started out in plays, stage plays. My friend that I spoke about earlier, Brandon, he had a friend who was doing a play and he needed a singer.
Okay.
So I was like, well, I might have did a little church play years ago, but I'm not really an actress. But I was like, all right, I'll go audition.
Exactly.
Got the part. And once I hit the stage, I was like, whoo, that's a whole nother realm, just opened my eyes. And I was like, yeah, I'm doing both of these. This is it. And I've been doing it since I did my first stage play in 2009.
Okay.
So I've been doing it
What
ever
play
since.
was that?
It was called Family Ties.
Okay.
Yep, that was my very first stage play.
And what was the song about that you sung? You don't remember?
No clue.
Okay.
No clue.
So what since then, what have you done? What have you liked most that you've done?
It's hard to choose between the stage and film because they're so different. I would say that I like the stage because you get to feed off of the energy of the crowd.
Okay. So what play did you like most?
What play did I like most? I'm going to say the play I liked the most was Entangled.
Okay. What
And
was that about?
that was actually filmed for DVD, and it's actually on Amazon right now.
What was it about? So it's on Amazon Prime, so you guys can watch it. But what was Entangled about, and were you, and what was your character?
My character, I played the lead.
Okay.
I think her name was Danielle. I can't remember. But she was kind of caught in a love triangle. So that's why it's called Entangled. She was in a relationship with somebody at one time that wasn't the best for her. She met somebody else that she thought was better for her. Somehow in this whole thing, at some point, they all kind of are together at some point. And it was just... one of the relationships was abusive. It was it was an entanglement.
So to get in the character for that, what was like? What do you do when you reading the script? Are you like sitting back, eating some popcorn, like this is hilarious? I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. Like what are you doing as you get in the character?
When I get in the character. So when you get in the character, you have to kind of have like a whole backstory. You can't just think of what you see on the page. You have to kind of create this whole life for this character outside of what you see on the paper in order for you to really, really dive in to the character. So what does this character eat? Like, what did she do yesterday, the day before this happened on this paper? Even though it's not on this paper, you have to think about and feel all of those type of emotions as to why she's acting like this. Or if this is an abusive relationship, has it been abusive is this the first time, or has she been going through this for a long time as to why she's acting or, putting up with it? It's so much that you kind of have to think about outside of what you just see on the paper to actually really dive into the character.
Okay. All right. Favorite movie?
My favorite movie, like of all time, that I've done. My favorite movie that I've done is, I'm gonna say, 9 Stacks. It's my newest film, or the most recent, and that is also on Amazon Prime and Tubi.
Okay.
Right now.
Okay.
It's called 9 Stacks. I'm gonna say that that's my favorite because it took me completely out of what I've typically done as an actress. I've done a lot of stuff where I was a church girl, I was in an abusive relationship, or I was just super emotional. I was able to have fun as this character.
So what was the character's premise? How did you create the backstory? What did the character do?
Without giving too much of the character away, And we filmed this in Vegas, or part
Okay.
of it in Vegas, my part in Vegas. So she just wanted to like have fun.
Okay.
She was very vain, so she took a lot of pictures all the time. Every time you saw her, she had her phone in her hand, taking pictures. So I kind of just myself thought like, what if I didn't have like any care about what anybody thought, what anybody said, and I just did me, and I just had fun, and I just want to meet people, and so I put myself.
You basically took the introvert Tam
Yes.
and became extrovert Tam.
Yep, and I was able to do that without caring about judgment of like other people. Me myself, I'd be like, oh, I could never do that because my mama gonna see it or something. You know what I'm saying? But I was able to become this character and just not care and just be free to just be silly and have a good time. I really had a good time playing that role.
All right, that was a recording pause from Josh. All right, so like I was saying, so the response, because I know like my homie Tristan, somebody else like in our mix and our crew, like people like know Tristan, like, you know what I'm saying, like being Family Dollar, like, oh
Yeah.
like what has that response been like?
That response, I probably get that a little more from my music than from film film. Now.
Okay.
Just because I don't know if it's when I change my hair, like people act like they don't know who I am.
So now you get to like sort of like through styling, you can sort of be in disguise.
Yeah. So I literally was at a movie premiere and I had different hair than I had in the film, and people was walking past me like they didn't even know, and I was like, hey, it's me. So I get more of a response from my music.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And what's that like, meeting people? Because, sometimes fans can be extra and sometimes it can be cool. What is it like for you?
It's been cool experiences for me. Just having somebody say, oh, you that girl that was on such and such song, or you know what I'm saying? Like, it makes me feel good to know that somebody listened to my music, likes my music, and, know me from my music. It's a good feeling. I haven't had any crazy.
Okay. Anything like, nothing like Kevin Hart's, what's that? I forget that Netflix miniseries.
No.
No. So within that I guess brings me, and it's all gonna be tough because it's like whoever you don't say, they don't feel like probably like even to play in the movie people. What have been some of the coolest songs, some of the most fun experiences working with other artists? And do you like working with other singers, rappers, house music? Like what's fun there in the studio music? And what stands out? Like what are the moments that it's like, wow, I can't,
I don't really work with a lot of other singers. I don't know why. I would love to. So if anybody out there, wants to connect like that, but I get called for a lot of hooks.
Okay. So what hook stands out? What was like the hook that you feel like really put you on the scene with folks?
I don't know if it's one. I've done a lot for Payroll. So that working with Payroll really opened up a lot of doors for people to know who I am. Those are the most popular ones. And yeah.
Okay. And what has been the most fun? What has been like one of the more fun studio experiences working with artists?
I would say the most fun was I used to be very heavy going to Mix Factory 1.
Okay.
And that was around the time where we would do a lot of like group sessions and writing and try to get placements and stuff like that. So those would be the more fun experiences because you're in a group and it's no pressure. You're kind of having fun, just being creative. That's the most fun.
Okay. All right. And I guess as we get closer to the end, what are some things in music that you plan to do next? What are some of the things that you haven't done that you plan on doing, as far as like it could be like genres of music, styles of music, or just working with certain artists?
I definitely want to work with more artists. Like I said, more singers for sure. So I'm not just the hook girl out here. I also want to make sure that I am giving more visuals because I know that people are visual. They want to see you. And once I started putting out visuals, I have people in the comments like, oh, that's the girl that was on such and such, so people can share it and then actually see the face that's behind the voice that's been on these songs for all these years.
I know. It's like they're going to hear this beautiful love ballad and watch that video, then turn around and see you acting crazy in that.
Right. Right.
Okay, cool. If people want to get in contact with you and work with you or just more interested about interacting, engaging, seeing what's up with your next show, how do they do that?
So if you would like to work with me, I would prefer that you send an email to booktamarajewel@gmail.com.
Okay.
For social media, if you want to connect, follow me, follow the journey. My Instagram and Twitter is @callme_Tam. And my Facebook is I am Tamara Jewel.
Cool.
Yep.
That works. So usually, because you a transplant, you a first generation Detroiter.
Yeah,
when we interview your daughter, I can ask her like the classic Detroiter.
Yeah.
So now I kind of gotta ask like an away game question.
Okay.
So, family and friends come into the city of Detroit. Okay, let's say your family for whatever reason decide to do a family reunion in Detroit just for you.
Okay.
Where's the first night you taking them before the fish fry, before everything else? Where are you taking them first, and why?
Where am I taking them first?
Yeah, but it's like all your cousins and all that stuff.
First, I'm gonna take them to the Motown Museum because music is the thing, and that actually has been what I've done in the past. When people have come, I've definitely made sure I've taken them there just so they could see the history. It's a lot of history in that building. So, and everybody, any age, can have a good time there and learn and be able to look around and say, oh, I know that person. Oh, I seen that. Oh, I heard that song. So that's definitely one of the first things I do when people come here. Okay.
Do you actually participate? If you've never been to the Motown Museum and did the tour, they want you to do the Temptation Step and the Supreme. Like, do you participate in the tour?
Yeah, I participate.
Like, yeah, that's cool.
I'm participating in everything.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. Okay, so Detroit family reunion.
We need to speak that. My family need to come here and do a family. Y'all hear that? With the camera. Come to Detroit.
A family reunion.
Yeah.
Exactly. They're going to go from Motown, and then you're going to take them to a Coney Island.
Okay. Right.
It's like, go to Coney Island. It's like, don't order any of that stuff from that side of the menu.
Stick to the basics.
Exactly. All right, so this has been fun. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Like I said, I got you tapped in. I'm going to keep you in the mix. And
Thank
go
you.
from there.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
All right. Peace be.
Detroit is Different is where you get information, artistry, history, music, and even comedy. Detroit is Different, a home for the culture of Detroit. Visit online at DetroitisDifferent.com today.